Imagine you are holding a pack of cigarettes. The weight in your hand, the texture of the box, the familiar habit. Now, put that pack down. Pick up a sense of persistent, heavy loneliness. Science tells us these two things carry the same physical risk. It is not just a feeling. It is a biological threat that actively shortens your lifespan. We are living in a paradox. We exist in an era of instant messaging, where voices are always within reach. Yet the Surgeon General of the United States has issued a formal advisory on loneliness. The government in the UK has even appointed a minister for loneliness. Why is this happening? Welcome to the Research Lab. Today, we strip away the abstraction to look at the data. We are here to break down why the absence of people around you has become a global health crisis. This is not about sentiment. This is about the mechanics of survival. We are going to look at the numbers, the biology, and the reality of what happens to your body when your social world goes quiet. In 2015, psychologist Julianne Holt-Lunstad turned the lens on this silent epidemic. Her team analyzed 70 studies, covering 3.4 million people across 7 years. The data was not just concerning, it was stark. Socially isolated individuals faced a 29% higher risk of early death. Those who reported feeling lonely faced a 26% risk. Even the act of living alone correlated with a 32% higher risk of mortality. These are not merely observations of correlation. Researchers controlled for age, gender, and smoking habits to isolate the variable of social connection. The impact remained consistent. To put this in perspective, earlier research from the same team in 2010 found that strong social bonds increase survival rates by 50%. The math is inescapable. When you remove human connection from the equation, the human body begins to fail at a measurable, accelerated rate. This is not a matter of lifestyle choice or personality type. It is a fundamental shift in your survival probability recorded across millions of lives, proving that our need for others is etched into our very biology. So, how exactly does isolation tear down the body? The first pathway is chronic stress. Your brain, evolved over millennia, interprets prolonged isolation as a mortal threat. It registers the lack of a social tribe as the absence of protection. In response, it floods your system with cortisol. This is the same hormone triggered by immediate, life-threatening danger. When you are chased by a predator, this surge is useful. It gives you the power to run. But when you are alone, there is no threat to flee from. The cortisol has nowhere to go. It sits in your bloodstream. Over time, this constant chemical bath becomes corrosive. It damages your heart, forcing it to work harder under the weight of sustained pressure. It weakens your immune system, stripping away your ability to fight off common infections. It disrupts your sleep cycles, preventing the very restoration your body needs to survive. Your biology is stuck in a state of high alert, fighting an invisible enemy that never arrives. The result is a system being systematically dismantled from the inside out, simply because the brain thinks it is being hunted. The damage does not end with your heart or your immune system. The third pathway is perhaps the most striking and tragic. Chronic loneliness fundamentally changes how your brain processes social information. It forces your mind into a state of hypervigilance. You begin to scan for threats in places where none exist. A neutral facial expression from a stranger is suddenly decoded as judgment. A missed text message is interpreted as a deliberate rejection. Your brain is essentially running a faulty survival program. By perceiving hostility in everyday interactions, you naturally pull away to protect yourself. You retreat further, which only deepens the silence and amplifies the brain's internal alarm. This creates a self-reinforcing loop. The more isolated you become, the more your brain scans for danger, and the more likely you are to view future social contact as a risk rather than a resource. It is a psychological trap. You are not just losing connection. Your very ability to form new bonds is being dismantled by your own defensive reflexes. You are being pushed away from the very thing that could save you, caught in a cycle that makes reaching out feel like walking into a fire. Scientists are quick to note that these studies are observational. They ask a critical question: does poor health lead to isolation, or does isolation lead to poor health? It is a complex dance. We are still mapping the exact biological mechanics of how we influence each other. Yet, even with these variables, the data points in one direction. The evidence is no longer just a theory. It is a weight. When you look at the totality of the research, the conclusion is impossible to ignore. Social connection is not a luxury. It is not a soft skill or a secondary preference. It is a fundamental biological necessity, just as vital as the food you eat or the sleep your body requires to function. Our internal systems are tuned to rely on the presence of others. When that presence is stripped away, the body begins to fail. It is a basic requirement for survival that we have spent decades treating as optional. We must stop viewing our bonds as incidental. We must recognize them as pillars of our physical existence. You are built to connect, and your health depends on it. In our hyper-connected world, we must prioritize these bonds. Reach out, build the community you need. This has been the Research Lab. If this research changed your perspective on how you live your life, please subscribe. Every week, we break down peer-reviewed science in plain English, turning complex data into the tools you need to thrive. See you next time.